You're on the clock with Tyler Jennings and Jared Perkins, a Prospects Live podcast for everything MLB Draft related. Join us as we discuss the biggest stories from college and high school baseball, bring you interviews from your favorite draft prospects, and break down live looks with Prospects Live analysis across the nation. Get ready, because you're on the clock with Tyler Jennings and Jared Perkins.
Alrighty, welcome to another episode of On the Clock by Prospects Live. I'm Jared Perkins. That's Tyler Jennings. Tyler, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you, Mr. Jared?
Oh, hanging in there. Another weekend over, getting ready for the work week. Yeah, that's about it. Nothing exciting.
Yeah, same here, I guess. Still just waiting for baseball to start. Please hurry up, baseball. We got 12 days for this.
Yeah, 12 days. Oh, also, I'm going to just start off and kick off about how mad I am that there's no one playing the weekend of February 23rd, and I have to wait to March for my first series now. I don't want to go see Bryant versus George Washington. I'm sorry. That's that's my only option. West Virginia's gone. Virginia's gone. Maryland's gone. Everybody is away because it's cold. And you know what? Suck it up. Play in the cold. I'm sorry.
You sound like me during track season as a high schooler when I was telling the sprinters to suck it up during indoor track.
Yeah.
Fun story about that, actually. Whenever we did indoor track, we didn't have an indoor track close to the high school. The closest one was Chapel Hill, so that's like a solid 45-minute drive from us.
Yeah.
So if it was too cold, which in our case, if the sprinter said it was under 55, we were practicing inside the hallway to the science building at Garner High. Highly don't recommend if you're a high school track person, by the way, because that will destroy your knees.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Indoor. No thanks.
No. And it's not even like it's curved corners. No, it's just straight up 90-degree corners, and you're just going to hope you don't hit the wall on the way by.
Yeah.
I
will say, yeah, I was just going to say it is my own fault for missing the first weekend because I'm going to be in Seattle visiting a friend. So I would have missed I'm going to miss Stetson versus West Virginia or Hofstra versus Virginia, which again, not great matchups, but just the fact that be able to see JJ Weatherholt or somebody else would have been fun early on.
You'll get him later in the year.
Yeah, I'll get him against Oklahoma State, which would be a lot more fun.
I'll let you know how the Oklahoma State team is after I see him in Dallas. How does that sound?
Yeah, pitching seems like it's going to be a problem.
I really feel like we're just trashing teams at this point, Jared. We're only 3 minutes into the podcast, and we've already put Bryant, George Washington, Oklahoma State on fire. I'm going to get a text from Coach Holliday from Oklahoma State just being like, hey, please stop.
Yeah. He's like, please don't throw our team under the bus anymore. We do have to get some good baseball news, though. We've had a couple trades happen in the MLB. We don't often talk about trades just because, one, we're an MLB Draft podcast, amateur baseball, but both of these trades involved MLB Draft picks. So the first one was the Brewers traded Corbin Burnes to the Orioles for Joey Ortiz, shortstop, left-handed pitcher, DL Hall, and the 35th overall pick in the MLB Draft. Awesome trade for the Orioles. I think it's a great trade for the Brewers as well. I saw a lot of people saying it was one-sided, but I want to talk a little bit about the value of that 34th overall pick. I don't think the common baseball fan really understands how valuable that is. A good example of it was Drew Waters got traded to the Kansas City Royals. I think it was last year or the year before for CJ Alexander. So CJ Alexander, Drew Waters, Andrew Hoffman went to the Kansas City Royals for the 34th overall pick, which the Braves went and took J.R. Ritchie for. So he's number 3, I think, on MLB Pipeline now. One of the better arms in the system. So there's value in that pick, but I want to get your take on that as well.
Yeah, that's my thing. The pick trading is there's a lot of value in picks now. Yeah. You mentioned it where a lot of people thought it was one-sided for Corbin Burnes. In my opinion, Corbin Burnes has a year left on team control. Probably depending on how new ownership in Baltimore works out. I don't know if there's an extension guaranteed there. Because I know Corbin Burnes has said in the past he wants to test reagent waters, go from there. So it's really not a guarantee that he gets extended. But Joey Ortiz was a guy that was blocked in that system that was at one point a top 100 prospect. He's a fringe guy for that now. And then DL Hall has one of the best fastballs in the league. I don't know if the Brewers want to try and put DL Hall in the rotation. I feel like they probably will.
Yeah.
But if not, like Josh Hader-esque out of the bullpen late in games is something I can see with DL Hall. But that pick, the 34th overall pick, Baltimore was really giddy on having that pick. I think they had 23, 33, and 34 this year. Or like 34 and 35, because one pick was from Gunnar Henderson winning the Rookie of the Year award, and then the other one was a comp pick. And I believe this is the one that was a comp pick that got traded. But for Milwaukee now, you have 5 top 100 picks. You get the pick at 17 in the first round, then you get 34, then you get 58, 65, and 95. For Milwaukee, this is the kind of thing that they really, lean on heavily.
Yeah.
This is how small market teams win, essentially. This is something that they're successful at. They're really, really good at developing, especially arms. And I think this is a conversation I had the other day with a couple of guys in a different group chat. But like, say you have a draft strategy going on here. You can go under slot 17 if you're the Brewers. And, there's probably going to be some good high school arms at 34 available to you. My guess is probably go under slot 17. This is just thinking out of the blue, but then maybe like Joey Oki or Ryan Sloan, some of the really talented prep arms that could be available around that selection. Because we've talked about the prep class this year is pretty weak and is pretty wide open. Any of those guys make sense. Maybe some guys we see at Super 60 today could be in contention for that pick, or even like 58 or 65.
Yeah.
There's routes that can go here, and like you mentioned it with a J.R. Ritchie pick. The biggest one I can remember, the Craig Kimbrell trade to the Padres. Austin Riley was part of that trade unintentionally. He was the 41st overall pick. And what was it, 2015, 2016, something like that?
Yeah.
And he was the pick that was traded from the Padres to the Braves. And now Austin Riley is a big part of that core in Atlanta now. Now, granted, not every player is going to be Austin Riley-esque, but
yeah,
if you trust your dev team enough to where you can make this valuable, I think a lot of this trade value really hinges on that pick.
Yeah, and I know I always go back to the Royals example because I'm a Royals fan, but even that 2018 draft where they got Brady Singer, Jackson Cowher, Daniel Lynch, and Chris Bubic, they got 4 arms within the top 50 picks of the MLB draft. Right, and I think 3 out of 4. I think Bubic was the only one that didn't go in the top 100. They're all eventually ranked top 100 prospects. So for a team like the Royals, like the Brewers from the Midwest that are really trying to develop a farm system, that's because it's going to be their way to compete, is like getting these guys to develop from internally. Like this is a huge move for the Brewers, and you have Joey Ortiz who could likely slot in at shortstop. They've already started talking about trading Willy Adames, saying that he's available. And it's like you mentioned with DL Hall, like they're probably going to try to stretch him out as a starter. He reminds me a little bit of AC Lacy in terms of a lot of stuff, not a lot of command control. But you got 2 good prospects, and you get a 3rd pick that you're going to be the top 40 guy. So I think it's pretty good. And like I said, it's great for the Orioles. They're trading from a position of strength. They have the farm system already built. It's really strong. It's probably the best in Major League Baseball. And they already have guys young at the big leagues. So like they needed an ace. They needed a top tier arm. So it made sense for the Orioles to trade from that depth piece.
Yeah, absolutely. And like even with the Brewers too, like I don't think MLB has released the bonus pools for this year's draft. Or if they have, I just haven't seen them yet. But they also haven't released an official draft date either, which is weird considering we're recording this on February 4th. But, going off of what we have last year, like the 31st overall pick was $2.5 million pick value. So you're adding $2.5 million to your bonus pool. And that's really, really valuable. Like even the Brewers last year, I think Josh Knopf was the 33rd overall pick, and they had that pick. It was like 2.55 million, I think, or something like that. So it's good to add to your bonus pool. And even the White Sox with the 69th overall pick in that trade for Gregory Santos, that's another $1 million that you're adding to your draft pool. So yeah, the teams really do value that, and it's something that I wish we see more of. I think, most people don't really necessarily know this, but only comp picks can be traded at this point.
Yep.
And I feel like that's overshadowed quite a bit And I'm really hoping this CBA we're talking about every single draft pick can be traded, like you do in the NBA, NFL,
Make things
NHL. I
real
think
exciting.
yes, I
Yeah.
would love it as a draft guy.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned the second trade. Not as exciting as the Corbin Burns one. Still a pretty decent one. Gregory Santos went to the Mariners. Really good reliever. They got Prelander Baroa, Zach DeLoach, and the 69th overall pick of the MLB draft. So White Sox got kind of a haul there for a reliever, but Santos is like, 5 years of control left. So great trade for the Mariners. They sent kind of a decent prospect haul / pick haul back to the White Sox. And like you said, another $1 million into the draft pool for the White Sox, who I don't really know what they're doing. They're hanging out. They're a team, but they you can tell they're kind of taking a different direction and different approach. So it's good to see.
Yeah, as I say, they don't have a bullpen at all right now. But
Bummer gone
you know,
to the Braves. I mean,
yeah. But like you get Baroa, who is blocked in Seattle because they have a bunch of late inning guys that just throw gas. And even Deloach was even blocked in that system too. So
yeah, he's
they
more of
do
like a
that.
fringe guy, but probably like a 4A type guy.
And then like Dom Fletcher from Arizona comes in too. That's another trade that they did.
Yeah.
I kind of like the route that Chicago is going there, especially with the farm system that they have coming up. Like Colson Montgomery is probably going to be in Chicago at some point this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I imagine that kid's insane. So we don't have too much else to talk about. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about Super 60, some of the prep guys. Are there some names that are really sticking out to you with that, and actually give people a little bit more give people a little bit more insight into what the Super 60 is?
Yeah, so Super 60 PBR hosted every single year in Chicago. This is an event that's been going on for like 22 years, and there's been quite a few high-profile guys that have come through there. I think the one that really sticks out to me, Reed Detmers, in 2016, I do believe, was a Super 60 participant. There's a couple other guys that have done it as well, like Jackson Humphreys, a local kid for me. I remember he went to Super 60, completely blew up, and he was a Guardians pick in like the 11th or 12th round, or maybe even earlier than that, back in like 2022. But yeah, like Super 60 is one of the premier events leading up to the beginning of the spring, and I think there's quite a bit of firepower this year, especially considering how wide open the class is going to be.
Yeah.
I think the biggest standouts from today, Chris Livonis, a New Jersey kid that's committed to Wake Forest. This was a kid that was like 88, 91 at PDP last year. I really liked the breaking stuff back then, but like if you want to know what it was like today, 95 to 98. You're throwing an absolute hammer of a breaking ball, 3,000 spin, both a curveball and a slider, and you're throwing a power changeup at around 90.
Could be better.
Yeah, I mean, there's still room for improvement. But yeah, that's the biggest jumper I think that's going to happen. Like New Jersey has had quite a few arms the past couple of years. Steven Echeverria, who was a third rounder for Oakland. Pierce Coppola was a really big name back in 2021 before he got to Florida. Anthony Solometo was a New Jersey guy. So there's quite a few cold weather arms that are going to pop this year. I think Livonis is the first one. Then Cam Sullivan from Indiana, 95, 97, throwing a slider at 90 as a high schooler is insane.
I was just looking at so I had sent you that Livonis video earlier. I'm like, he's 6'2", 175. Like, me coming out of high school is basically like 6'1", 165, and I was like, cool, I could barely touch 75. Great. This kid's just like throwing 95, 98. Nice.
And it's like he hasn't even had that much weight. He was like 6'1", 170 over the summer, and now he's 6'2", 175. And it's like, oh, hey, by the way, I've added like 5 mile an hour to my fastball.
Yeah. Talk about projection and growth. Like, if he adds any more strength, what's that going to do?
It's going to be insane is what it's going to be. And like, even if he makes it to college, which I doubt he will at this point, I mean, you got a cold weather arm throwing 98, even if it is like a bullpen-esque session, that's loud.
Yeah.
It's very loud. Another guy too that kind of stood out to me, Joey Broughton. He's a Northville, Michigan kid. Same team as I believe it's Dante Nori. And Dante Nori is going to get a lot of looks this year. So Broughton's going to be equally getting as many looks. Super projectable at 6'2", 200. You don't think 6'2", 200 is really projectable. Long gangly limbs, really good body control. He's one of my favorites. He's a data pick for me personally because the fastball data is pretty nutty.
Yeah.
A lot of vertical break, looking about 20 inches of vert. 92, 94 now. This was a guy that was like 88, 91 at Jupiter. And he's really, really athletic for a kid of that caliber. Like the hip shoulder separation that he gets is insane on the mound. He also throws a yacker at 78, 79 with like 2,700 spin and a pretty good mid-age changeup. This is a guy that's probably going to end up getting drafted because he is a pick commit. Sorry to the pick guys, but I'll be honest, at this point, you can throw him like $2 million. He's probably going to take it and sign.
Yeah. He's not going to Pitt. Sorry. We had Devin Mesoraco on earlier. We're sorry, Devin.
Sorry, Devin. Don't kill me, please.
Yeah. Love it. The one guy I wanted to ask you about, because I saw him kind of pop up quite a bit on my Twitter feed, is Ryan Costello, first baseman. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on him?
I really like Costello. This is a guy. He was like 6'3", 190 last summer. Big power guy. I think he was committed to Pitt, uncommitted, and now he's part of that ridiculous LSU class.
Everybody's coming to LSU.
Yeah, at this point, might as well load up the train. Jay Johnson. Woo woo.
We're not even in the transfer portal yet either. So.
All right, I would like to announce that I'm entering the transfer portal. I'll be working at LSU this spring, Jared.
Director of Baseball Ops, Tyler. He got a $1 million NIL deal.
Oh God! If I got $1 million NIL deal, shit. I don't know what I would do with that. But no, the thing with Costello is like it's really good field to hit, really good discipline, big power from the left side. He's mainly a first baseman, and he really has kind of shown it now. He's added about 25 pounds of mass to the body. His thighs are humongous. Just looking at video today from Super 60. So I'm kind of wondering how scouts are going to look at that, because it's quite a big difference, especially for a kid that's already like landlocked at first base. So I'm curious to see how that plays into their evaluation or how he kind of maneuvers around at first base. Because I mean we talked about it before. Nick Kurtz is 6'5", 235 and moves like Gazelle at first base.
Yeah,
not every player is built like that.
No, not at all.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I like Costello. He's in the back end of our top 100 prep guys for a reason, and that bat is just really, really stellar.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Super 60, we got to stay on the subject. Which one is between Chris Lavonis and Hagen Smith? Which breakout are you trusting more? We saw the velocity increase in Smith as well. I'm throwing this one out there. I know I didn't prepare you for this one at all.
No, you really didn't. Which is fine. That's exactly what On the Clock is meant for. I'd probably go Hagen. He's 6'3", 225 now. He's probably bumping 230 at this point. The strength and conditioning coaches at Arkansas have done a really good job with him, and he's been throwing strikes. First outing was like 97 to 100, only one inning, but it struck out 3 guys, 11 strikes out of 14 pitches. And he's done it multiple times. He just had an outing the other day where he did walk back-to-back guys in the first inning, but looked really good in the second. And he was still 97 to 100 with a really, really good slider and a developing splitter. I think I'd go Hagen. And it's mainly because I've seen more of it than just one outing at a I mentioned it earlier, but like a bullpen-esque setting.
Yeah. But you're seeing it in the SEC.
Yeah. So, but if Lavonis is holding like 95, 98 throughout all of his outings in Jersey this year, it's going to be pretty close, especially with the kind of projection to that body.
Yeah. So who for the Super 60? Next question is, who's your prep breakout arm from the Super 60?
I'm going to mention a name that I haven't yet. I was going to go Sullivan. I'm not going to go Sullivan. Brody Kellenbrink. LSU commit out of Missouri. Lefty was 93-95 today with low effort delivery, standout arm speed. Changeup has a lot of separation from the fastball. We talk about Lavonis throwing a changeup around 90. it's really almost on top of the fastball velo. If you're looking for like really, really good changeup separation, you're probably looking at like 10 plus miles an hour difference. Kellen Brink is going about 78, 81 with a changeup, so he's got 10 to 15 miles per hour separation, as well as a curveball in the upper 70s at 76, 78. This is a guy at 6'2", 210, has a pretty stout lower half. I think he could be a guy to watch in Missouri. He's going to have a lot of followers in the Midwest this year. I think he's a guy that could end up being a pretty big Midwest standout guy.
Yeah. I think you can kick off every prep guy you talk with saying LSU commit, and you'll probably be like 50% chance of getting it right.
Yeah, probably.
Moving on to the prep breakout bat. So who from the Super 60 is your prep breakout bat?
Tyson Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska. I think it's a Nebraska kid. I can't remember, but this is a kid I saw at the PDP. Excuse the stutter there, but yeah, he was at PDP. Looked really, really good. I didn't like the swing back then. It felt like it was more like suited for line drives, but he's at about 15 pounds of weight. The bat path looks consistently different. It looks like he has got more loft to it, just from the couple of videos that I've seen. And this was a guy that we thought was going to, jump up pretty quickly this year, and we bumped him up for a reason on our prep update. But yeah, he's looking every bit of like a second rounder right now, or maybe even like a first rounder if everything works out. When we mention that everything's wide open, it's really wide open. There could be anybody from like 50 to 100 on our list that could end up being a first rounder at this point.
Yeah.
And that's saying something.
Yeah, I love it. Do you have any final thoughts overall on the Super 60?
They did a great job as always. I mean, that's really the best way I could put it. Diego Deegs is what we call him now. He works with them. Andy Shiroka, Shooter Hunt. They all do a fantastic job. I don't think Smitty was there today, but he's a big part of PBR as well, and he's always a standout guy to talk to. I still talk to him almost on a daily basis, which is awesome because he's been so fun to work with, and I'm glad that they've all jumped up and gone into the big parts of the baseball industry. So I'm happy for all of them. But overall, Super 60 in terms of players, there's a lot of heat that came through there today. So I'm interested to see how everything holds up over the rest of the year. Like if Cam Sullivan's still throwing 90-mile-an-hour sliders in May, back up the Brinks truck.
Yeah,
quite literally.
Someone's getting paid.
Yes. Nobody. That man is not going to Notre Dame.
No. If you want to learn a little bit more about these guys, you can check the list on PBR's website. We have write-ups on the top 100 prep guys, so some of those guys will be included in there if you want to get some more information. So be sure to check that out as well. We don't have too much more for you all. We have an incredible interview coming up with right-handed pitcher Drew Beam out of the University of Tennessee. Incredible dude. Just you can tell the leadership abilities he's already developed. You can tell how much he's kind of developed himself as a human being outside of baseball through a lot of the things that he's gone through with his family. Just a really cool interview. We get into his pitch mix. Tyler asked him about his curveball and how he's kind of shaped that. What's really stood out to you in that interview?
Just the maturity, honestly. We talk about guys that have 80 grade makeup. Walker Jenkins was a guy that really stood out for me on a makeup standpoint. Drew Beam's up there for that, in my opinion. You can really tell, like you mentioned, how he's grown as a player outside of baseball, mainly because of the fact that his sister grew up with SMA. And I said in the interview, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to donate. So if you go to curesma.org, there is a link on there to go ahead and donate to the foundation. I'm going to put $32 on the line. Maybe even do it more than once. For what it's worth, Drew Beam's number is 32. So got to keep consistency going. So I'll put $32 into that. But he's just an awesome guy. Yeah.
And you'll hear a little bit more about his story and how he has a purple glove, which is the color for his sister, than the disease that she's fighting through as well. So yeah, incredible interview. We will also tease that we do have 2 interviews dropping this week. Drew Beam will go out. You'll see, of course, in this episode on Tuesday. And then we have another sneak. We'll give you a little sneak preview. It's a head coach, pretty big head coach, that will be dropping on Thursday next week. So you definitely won't want to miss that one. That one will just be a straight interview, no intro from us. We really want the attention to be on that interview. So that's all for us, unless you got some final thoughts, Tyler. Anything on your end?
I guess one more thing, since we're on the promotion of foundations. March 2nd,
yes,
2024, we're going to be doing something within the Sutter community. It's a one-day conference hosted by friends. And I've worked with the Friends group in the past, mainly on those one days, but they do a national convention in the summer around draft time. This year it'll be in Denver for anybody that's interested in going. But anybody in the Raleigh area, we're going to be working at, I think it's Parkview Elementary School in downtown Raleigh. I could be mistaking the name. But we're going to be doing stuff all day. You know, we're going to open up with some group activities with some kids, really getting them accustomed to stuttering and trying to get them more confident in how they speak. And then later in the afternoon, we'll have some presentations. My speech therapist, Miss Rita Thurman, lovely lady, by the way, absolutely love her. She will be hosting a presentation, and after that, we'll be doing like an adult panel. I will be part of that panel. I love doing it every single time that we get this opportunity to do it. So I'm going to take a day off and enjoy just bringing the community together. So if there's anybody in the Raleigh area that listens to this and wants to join, I've already put it up on my Twitter, but it's $30 to attend if you are interested. Everything should start around 9 to 9:30 in the morning, and we'll be going until about 4 p.m. So if anybody's interested, just hit me up. I'll help you guys out with getting registered. But it's a really fun event that I enjoy doing, and really being a part of the stuttering community has been a great deal, or meant a great deal to me. So I figured I'd put that out there before we ended today.
I love it. And if no one gets anything from this episode by listening to us, at least you got two organizations that are doing some incredible things, and you can go check those out. But without further ado, we want to get you over to that interview with Drew Beam, and we'll see you next week. All righty, we have another incredible interview here with On the Clock by Prospects Live. We got Drew Beam, right-handed pitcher with the University of Tennessee. Drew, how are you doing today?
Good, fellas. How y'all doing? Thanks for having me on.
Good. We're excited to have you on the episode, kind of talk about your journey. The first question, we always kick it off to guests. For the people who don't know you, give a little background on yourself, kind of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, so I'm from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, just about 30 minutes southeast of Nashville. Been playing baseball pretty much my entire life. This was the first game I ever played, first game I ever loved. So picked up football there for a little while, played from, all through middle school and high school, but baseball is my true love, true sport I love. So yeah, I started playing travel baseball when I was probably 10 years old, and stuck with it all the way through high school, all the way through recruitment and such. Got recruited by Tennessee my freshman, sophomore year of high school. They offered me sometime after my sophomore summer, I committed. And then, we just kind of got into it. My junior year of high school was COVID, so I didn't play baseball that year. And then didn't play my senior year because I had the repair in my elbow for the UCL. So we got up to Tennessee, got fully recovered, and have played 2 healthy seasons and about to go into my 3rd here. So it's been a good trip, good time. Really enjoyed, learning all kinds of different life things through baseball.
Yeah, I love that. You talked a little bit about kind of going into this 3rd healthy season into 2024. What are some of your goals for this year? What are some of the things that you've been working on that you really want to take your game to the next level with?
Yeah, main thing is what everybody's trying to do is stay healthy. It's a taxing game. So just keeping your body together and staying healthy throughout the year is always the main goal for everybody, I feel like. But big thing is just continue to keep winning games, whatever my role will be for the team this year, whatever night I'm getting out there and starting on. That's my goal, is to go out there and just win ball games for us. Been working on really refining the cutter. We worked on it a lot last season, but at times it would get away from me and I would just completely scratch it off the game plan. So really working on that and just, dialing it in, getting it as confident as my other pitches in the repertoire, and just kind of just, cleaning up the small things, cleaning up the little miscues here and there, and just trying to refine everything down to a perfect science that everybody tries to accomplish.
Love it. Tyler, I'll turn it over to you. I know you always have some questions on the pitch mix.
Yes, I do. So I wanted to ask about the curveball because I remember your freshman year when I saw you, it was kind of more like a slurvy pitch. What have you done to try and like refine that pitch to make it the pitch that it is now? What, in my opinion, was the best pitch in your arsenal.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gone through a lot of different changes, but the grip stayed the same. So it's never been grip changes. It's been just trying to get the shape down. So going through, freshman year, we just, let it do its thing, kind of let it figure out. I hadn't pitched in 2 years, so like figure out what it is.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how it works, when it's effective, and then getting into sophomore year, we started figuring out, all right, when it's this shape, when it's that like 11.5 shape, that's its most effective, and that's when it's playing well with the fastball and getting a lot more swing and misses and weak contact. So, working in that late, especially that Southern Miss game was. We really had that shape down. That shape was, crisp, was how I wanted it, and it was really effective. So that's a big thing going into this offseason was, all right, let's get away from the making it more of a sweeper and a slurve. I was like, let's get that 11.5 shape down and really be consistent with that so that we're not going into a bullpen before my start and not knowing which curveball it's going to be on that particular day. So really refining it, getting it down to that perfect science of where I want that curveball to be and what shape I want was kind of the goal with it. And just kind of, it was fun to work through it. You can go look at different outings my freshman year and it would change shapes, different game. Sometimes you're like, that's not even the same curveball that I threw last week. So really getting consistent with it and figuring out mental cues, touch and feel with it to really refine it down.
Yeah, and then is there any velo jumps this year? Because I remember your freshman year, you jumped up. I think you were touching 96, then you were touching 98 last year. Anything on that front, or is it just really kind of like the same 92, 95 right now?
I guess we'll see once Texas comes around and we got some adrenaline and fans in the stands. So that's really the telltale sign. Right now, you don't really try to blow anything out or try to let it fly all the way. It's just about getting into season and getting conditioned and stuff. So we'll see that opening weekend how the ball's coming out.
Yeah, I was gonna say with that colder weather in the fall too, it's probably you're not trying to let it loose.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to save the good bullets for June.
Yeah,
that's when you want them.
Love it. So just kind of going into the season too, right? You guys are in the SAC. We'll always have a strong schedule of opponents players. There's someone you're really looking forward to matching up against this year?
Obviously the first game, Texas Tech. Yeah. Just excited for that first weekend to get going. And then obviously the SEC play. The first few weekends of non-conference are always fun. You're playing schools that you've never played before and stuff, but SEC is the real grind, and so it's fun. I think our first SEC series is Alabama, so I guess that'd be the next one I'm looking forward to is to get into SEC play and play some really good teams because you can't take anybody lightly in the SEC. Everybody's got a chance to upset anybody, so it's always a dogfight and everyone grinds it out. And 3-game series, you never know how it can go even after day one is over.
Yeah, that's the wild thing to me is because I worked in the smaller conference and just every weekend matters in the SEC. Like it's just insane that you can go 1-3 one weekend, 2-3 the next. The next thing you know, you're skyrocketing in rankings. So it's like every single weekend's important.
Exactly, and everybody's got something, something in the woodworks. There's a freshman throwing 98 that no one ever knew of, and there's there's a freshman coming out hitting 20 bombs and hitting 350, and you're like, I'd never heard of this kid before. So it's always something fun. That's once you get to closer to the SEC tournament, those guys have kind of made their name and they're out there, and you've kind of figured them out more. But at the beginning of the SEC, especially, it's like, all right, who's this kid? Like, what's he doing? Like, what's this guy? How do we not have this guy on our scouting report and such like that?
Gotta love the pop-up 98 guys.
Oh, yeah.
Am I allowed to say that was you your freshman year? Because I remember you got the Sunday spot like right out the gate, and I was like, who is this kid? And here we are, like you won SEC Freshman of the Year. You've gone to collegiate national team twice. You've pitched in Omaha. Like, kind of just break down that. Is this something you expected when you were in high school?
The main goal after I got hurt was get back to just pitching in baseball. So at first, no. But I got healthy August September of, my freshman fall. So I was, got to go through the whole fall and got to play through all that. So never really had any time that I wasn't involved in the college fall. So, I mean, I went in, and at first it was, we had the Burns, we had the Dolander, and Tidwell were our guys, and they kind of were the big arms that really stood out. So that was I was like, all right, I figured I was competing for a, relief role. And then Tidwell had his arm injury, and he just had to go down for a few months. And then we're getting closer and closer to opening day, and no one had an answer for who's going to be, this third starter. And I had some starts in the fall, had some starts in this kind of time period that we're in right now. And then I think it was literally Saturday night before before that Sunday game that I started, he texted me and one other guy and said, "Hey, one of y'all starting tomorrow. I don't know who it is, but when you walk in the locker room in the morning, it'll be one of y'all." I was like, okay. So I was like, all right, sweet. So I walked in, obviously tried to get to the field as early as I could. I was like, I want to know. So walked in the locker room, and my name was on the board as a starting pitcher. So I was like, sweet. And then we went along with it, and it's kind of just, gone and flourished from there.
Yeah.
Who is the other guy?
Hollis Fanning. He's at NC State now, but another good arm. So, I mean, I don't think he could have gone wrong with either. Glad he chose me.
I'm excited for Hollis too, because he was fun during the fall here at State. So I'm excited for that.
He's and his whole story with one eye and everything. He's a cool dude too. But he's got some crazy extension and stuff like that. Just being, I don't know, 6'8", 6'9", however tall he is, but he's a massive fella.
Yeah,
Jared, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you talked about kind of the other guys, the older guys like Tidwell, Dolander, and all that kind of being the main go-tos. How was their mentorship helpful to you, and how have you kind of taken some of the lessons that you learned from them to really help the younger guys as they come into Tennessee?
Yeah, that 22 squad was, I think literally every single player on that team had leadership abilities that were used in different ways. And that's what made us so good, I feel like. Yeah. I mean, we had guys like Jarrell Ortega at second base, Cortland Lawson at the shore. Like, those like guys who weren't vocal leaders but just did everything right. And then you had, in the pitching staff, you had Camden Sewell and you had Redmond Walsh, who had been there for a long time and seen a lot of different things, seen the or like our team and the university that go from a bottom tier SEC team to the team that's competing for SEC titles. And they had seen the come up and seen everything that they had gone through. And so they had so much knowledge of everything. And then you bring in Dolander, who pitched really well at Georgia Southern, and you bring him in. He's got some, he knows a little bit of, what the feel of college baseball, but now he's into the SEC side of things. Was really cool. And then you bring me and Burns in as freshmen. We're kind of just learning under them and just seeing how things go. And just it was good to have so many guys. I mean, even you can go along with like Will Mabry, Mark McLaughlin, like you had Ben Joyce, he had been around the team. Like, it was just so many guys who had so much knowledge, and everyone just knew what it took to, get things going and go the right way. They'd been to Omaha the year before and had a really good team the year before that. That was COVID. So it was like the kind of culture of winning was coming along and really being, pushed into us new guys. And it's kind of lived out through that. And that's what I'm trying to do as these new guys come in, is I'm kind of like the veteran guy, more so than I have been the last 2 years, where I'm kind of switching into that role and just kind of trying to instill that into these younger guys that, hey, like, we don't take losing here. Like, the winning's a thing that is supposed to happen, and it's not something, that, we're going to get excited to win, but like this it's a thing that's going to happen. It's supposed to happen. We're not going to lose here. Like, this is the culture that we're building and how things go here. And so you just got to keep working, and that's kind of what we're just trying to instill into these new guys, so that they can, once I leave, some of these older guys leave, they can turn around and give it to the younger guys coming in, and we'll just continue this culture.
I love that. It's all about team mentality too, kind of like you hit on, right? You got to get buy-in from everyone. It's cool to see you kind of taking that leadership role and working on the younger guys to get them to get that buy-in.
It takes an army. I mean, you can't do it with one guy or two. I mean, it takes everybody. Every inning is precious, and you're going to have freshmen out there that are going to have to throw some meaningful innings. So it all matters, and all, it's got to take everybody, like I said.
I love it. Yeah, Tyler, I'll turn it over to you for any last questions you got.
I do have one question, because I've noticed the purple glove that you have. And this is something I kind of wanted to touch on too, because your sister was diagnosed with SMA at a young age. So kind of just talk to me about that whole experience with family and, if there's any organization to plug in, I'll happily donate any money that, is necessary to help out with that.
Yeah, so I'll start with where it all started. We, with the glove at least. So we're, making Wilson, has like a partnership with us, so we get to customize gloves every year. And so they're in one day, and I had no clue what I wanted to do. I'm lost. I'm like, I made like 4 gloves, and none of them really caught my eye or looked good. And I was like, and I don't know who said it, something about I think someone had, a family member with cancer and said something about cancer. And I was like, well, them doing a little like pink on their glove. And I was like, well, what if I just make up a purple glove? I was like, I don't even know if I'll do it, but that's the color for my sister's disability. And so I was like, I'll just make one up, see how it looks. And pulled it all up. And right as I had, just completed the glove on my computer, Coach E walked by, Coach Elander, and he goes, "That's sick." I was like, "Really?" And he was like, "Yeah, why don't you do it?" I was like, I didn't really know if y'all be. I mean, it's purple. Knoxville doesn't have purple. Like no one. That's not a color we associate around here. And he was like, "Dude, yeah, we're 100% in on that." And he kind of gave me the green light, like, "Hey, like take that road, take that. That'd be really cool to use for next season." And so we went with it, and it came in. It looked really sick. And then it went along with wore the creams on Sunday at home, and it kind of went well with them. So. Yeah, it was just really cool to be able to, wear purple. And like the biggest thing about purple was it stood out. And so people asked questions. And so it allowed me to answer those questions, and post-game interviews, people just coming up and asking me, give me a chance to, kind of tell my sister's story and go along with things like that. So.
What is the story with your sister, though, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. So it's a genetic disorder, SMA is. So she was born with it, and about 2 years old, she wasn't walking yet, and so we my parents, I guess, took her in, got some testing done, and she was diagnosed. So then she's been wheelchair bound since around that age, and but there's really nothing to it other than she has trouble growing muscle around like her spinal cord and stuff like that. So just makes her weaker and makes her to where she's unable to walk. And so it's been, it's different growing up with a sister with a disability who's in a wheelchair. You kind of learn to mature a little quicker and do things that most, 8, 9-year-olds aren't doing for their little sibling. You're helping take care, helping with your parents, do different things. So it's a learning curve, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, it's been a blessing to me in disguise. So I love her, and she's my biggest supporter. So it's been great having her by my side all these years.
That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of cool to see too how like you don't have your like full identity wrapped up in baseball, right? There's something bigger there with your family and everything else that's happening in your life. So it's really cool to kind of see you be able to kind of develop yourself as a person outside of the game, really be there to support your sister as well.
Yeah, baseball only lasts so long, so
yeah,
you got to have yourself and other things too.
Yeah, I love that. Drew, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us on the clock. We're wishing you nothing but the best in the upcoming season, and we'll definitely be watching and seeing all the success that you all are having at Tennessee.
I appreciate it. Thank y'all for having me on.